This is Kingdom Life. I'm your host, Tracy Eckert, where we access heaven to transform the earth. I am so excited about my guest, Michael Mauldin. He is a fiery evangelist, and this man goes into the fire. He goes into the dark places. And so I'm so encouraged to share his stories with you. You will be inspired and encouraged in your own life to do the impossible.
Jesus taught us to pray, "Our Father who is in heaven, holy is your name. Let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven." Living the kingdom life means that we look to God for what we need rather than ourselves. Living the kingdom life means centering your life upon God and resting in Jesus to receive the blessings He died on the cross for you to obtain. Now here's your host of Kingdom Life, Tracy Eckert.
Welcome to Kingdom Life. I'm your host, Tracy Eckert, where we access heaven to transform the earth. I am so excited that Michael Mauldin is with us today. And one of the reasons, Michael, that I invited you to be on the show is that I have watched your life and I have been so encouraged by some of the choices that you're making. And one of the things that I love to have is our guests that access heaven to transform the earth, and I see like 100-fold fruitfulness in your life. I see some of the choices you're making, and I'm like, man, I'm so inspired by this. Like, I'll never forget when you know, the whole ISIS thing was happening, and they invaded Mosul, and you know, we were watching about all of these people that were being murdered. You know, and I mean, it was terrifying. Yeah. And then I see you on a plane to Mosul, and you're actually taking a picture of yourself. Of course, nobody else is. The plane is empty.
Nobody on the plane.
Right. I mean, tell me about that. What?
You know, when I saw ISIS taking over like they were, I was like, man, this is an Islamic revival. And the people are not going to want it because they're killing their own people. And I said, this is the time for the gospel. And I've always been at this mindset where it says the spirit and the flesh are in opposition to each other. So I look at what the flesh of the enemy's doing, and then the opposite is what God's going to do. And so people are fleeing, they're wanting to get out of there. It's like, this is the time to go and bring the gospel.
You're like Joshua or Caleb. You kind of have a different spirit in you, whereas everybody else is saying, let's run from the trouble. You're like, no, but my God is able.
That's right.
You know, and so it was just incredible. And so what happened while you were there?
I mean, we saw some incredible things happen. I mean, we got to go to the front lines, and we brought digital Bibles to the soldiers that were on the front lines facing Mosul. I mean, so we could see ISIS from where we were.
Wow.
And, you know, it was interesting. Before I left to go over there, I was reminded of how all these Christians were buying dinar and thinking that the money was going to flip and make millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And, of course, it didn't happen. Yeah. But I was like, okay. I put a little Facebook post up, and I was like, hey, all you my Christian brothers and sisters that bought dinar like me, give me your money, let's go sow it back into the country. And so I brought a few $1 million worth of dinar over there, and I met a guy who was going into Mosul buying back sex slaves.
Wow.
And so I was able to use all that money, and we got 4 girls out of there.
Wow.
It was incredible. And then I also met a couple that was escaping Mosul. They were former Muslims. They're nominal Muslims, but they were getting out of Mosul because Islamic revival, if you're not all in, they'll kill you too.
Right.
And so they were going through the wilderness, and when they were sleeping in the wilderness, the husband and the wife had the exact same dream on the same night where Jesus came and visited them.
Wow. And
they gave their lives to Jesus. And we hear these stories quite a bit in the Middle East, but to hear one firsthand, it was really cool to hear. And he was sharing their story, how they have no job, no money. And I had some Iraqi dinar. I had like $1 million dinar in my pocket, which is like $1,000.
Wow.
And they had 4 kids, and I was like, I feel like God sent me here to give you this money. And he looks at me, he's like, you're my brother now. You know, he's like giving me this huge hug. And
that's awesome.
It was just so cool to use, just to be used in that way. So.
Well, and I love that had you not gone, you know, a couple of things would have happened. That would have never happened to those people, or God would have sent someone else. Yeah. But you heard the call, and you ran into the fire. You ran into the dark place where, you know, I mean, people don't know this, but Michael has a family. You know, Michael has, how many kids do you have now?
3.
You have 3. He has 3 beautiful children. But I mean, he's established, you know, he's got the American life. At the time you were a pastor at the Upper Room in Dallas, and you helped to start, right?
Yeah.
And so talk about that. I mean, you've got this situation where you're like, honey, it's time I'm going to go to Mosul.
Yeah.
The darkest. It wasn't just, I'm going to go to Iran.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the darkest place in Iraq.
Well, yes. Well, my wife and I, when we first got married, we did Youth with a Mission, and we lived in the West Bank of Israel for a while.
Wow.
And, people thought I was crazy then, you know, but living there, the Lord just broke my heart for the Muslim people. I mean, it was like, gosh, it was like, He died for them too,
Yeah.
And all we get on the news is they're all terrorists. And there's that element for sure, but the majority of people, they need Jesus,
Yeah.
And when I just saw what was happening, I just knew I was supposed to go. I was in prayer, and this intercession hit me for that region. And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. Who's gonna go?
Who's gonna go? Right.
Who's gonna go? There's not many people willing to go. And so I was like, here I am, Lord, send me. And it was scary. I've got kids.
Yeah.
Think about, okay, I may not come back.
Yeah.
And the night before we went on the front lines, they said, I hope you really prayed about going, because last time we went to the front lines, a mortar round hit the hood of our car and bounced off. It was a dud.
Wow.
And so it's like you have to really put your faith in check at this point. Like, okay, am I called to go do this or not?
Yeah.
And sure enough, nothing happened to that degree. Thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, but that's faith
all these
in
things,
action.
It is. It is.
And saying, I'm sure you had, that's what courage looks like. We talk about being encouraged, but courage looks like something.
Yeah.
It's not just, I'm going to stay here and I'm courageous because I'm posting some things on Facebook.
Yeah.
But when you really put yourself out there and you're really saying, like you said, here am I, God, send me.
Yes.
And wanting to be the one that actually goes. And that's what really hit me so hard about you, is you're always the one, to raise your hand when there's an impossible situation. And so I've been blessed. As I've seen you, it's actually encouraged me to also have courage. And so what is the saying? If one man's spine is stiffened, or if one man has courage, it stiffens the spines of other men. And so it just takes one man to stand up, or woman to stand up and do the right thing. And so I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So very encouraged by you. Well, tell me some more stories, because you have recently joined with Sean. Is that right? Sean Foyt.
Let Us Worship.
Yeah. So that's another thing I saw. I saw on social media you were packing up your car with your 3 kids, and you're about to travel around America with Sean Foyt. Now the two of you know each other.
Yeah, we go back to 2006. We lived together in the beginning of his ministry. And we were in Tampa at the time, and he was coming to do Let Us Worship in Tampa. And we're in the middle of, pandemic, and churches are shut down. They're being forced to shut down. They're telling the people of God they can't meet together. And that's where our power is, when we come together to worship.
Right.
And, I saw Sean. He was like, we got to take a stand, especially in California.
Right.
And so they were actually coming to Tampa where we were. And I said, hey, Sean, we're here. And my wife's big worship leader is like, get Meredith, let's do some worship. Let's roll, And the day that he comes, it was September 18th, and it was a day just packed with so much. My wife had a new album release. Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. It was Rosh Hashanah.
Wow.
And it was my brother's birthday. And my brother had committed suicide 3 years prior, and Tampa was his hometown.
Wow.
And so I went to seek the Lord, because I was like, God, this is a big day. And I felt like he said, today's the day I want you to plunder hell on your brother's behalf. It's time to charge back what the enemy's taken from your family.
Wow.
And I visited my family. It's a day of mourning for my family, right?
Yeah.
And we go to this Let Us Worship event, and the first thing Sean starts talking about was how when they did Let Us Worship in San Francisco, that the police were on suicide patrol because so many people were committing suicide during the lockdowns. And I was like, man, I know we're supposed to go after this. And so people got saved, they got baptized, and they comes to me, do you have any words of knowledge? And I said, man, I just want to go after this again for people struggling with suicide.
Yeah.
And I said, this is the land of buccaneers, the land of pirates. And I said, there's a redemptive version of that thing, where Jesus goes back into hell and he takes back the keys of death and Hades and he plunders hell. And I said, we're going to plunder hell today.
Man,
and I shared my brother's story and went after people who'd been struggling with depression and suicide. And many people were sort of rushing to the front to get free. It was
Wow. Wow. Well, we were going to do this at the end, but I think we're supposed to do it right now. Let's just do that right now. Can you pray for the people out there and just speak into the camera? And
yes.
You've got 30 seconds.
Yeah. If you're watching right now and you're struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts, I just want you to know how valuable your life is. Like, God paid the ultimate price for you, and he's sending you to watch this right now for you to get set free. And I break off all thoughts of suicide and depression off of your life. Your life is valuable. There's a purpose in your heart. There's a destiny over your life. Lord, let it come forth now in this hour in Jesus' name.
Yes, in Jesus' name.
to tracyeckert.com to find out more about her ministry. Read her blogs about the end times signs foretelling the soon coming of Jesus and how to stand strong during this present shaking. Understand the prophetic signs happening in our world and in the Middle East. Learn 7 things to help prepare you and anchor you. Connect with Tracy with your prayer requests. All this and more at tracyeckert.com.
Welcome back to Kingdom Life. I'm here with Michael Malden. Wow, last segment was so powerful. I really want to go back to the beginning because you not only do you live a power-filled...
Before I cried?
Yeah. Well, you live this power-filled life. And you are on the ground and you're doing the stuff that we all love so much, that we all want to be inspired to do. But I want you to take us back to the beginning because you actually have an incredible testimony and encounter when you got saved. Can we start there?
Yeah, sure. So kind of a crazy testimony. You know, when most kids are young, they want to grow up and be like a professional football player, athlete, and I actually wanted to be in the mafia when I grew up.
Oh, the mafia?
Yes, that was my dream. I had high ambitions. And so I lived this kind of crazy lifestyle and saw where it was going, went to this Catholic college that introduced me to the Bible, but then from there I ended up moving to Miami to do some modeling down in Miami. First job I booked was Abercrombie & Fitch, and my kind of career started going off. And I achieved everything that the world esteems and values at a pretty high level, had a sense of fame, hanging around famous people, had money, beautiful girls, drugs, this whole lifestyle that the world had promoted.
How old were you?
Early 20s, 21, something like that.
Wow.
And I was more miserable than I'd ever been in my life. And I was hanging around people who had more of what I had. And I was like, well, if I'm this miserable here, what are the heights of misery that I can attain to, you know, if I keep going down this path?
Right.
And so I was in my high rise one night. I was just desperate. I was like, God, you have to be kind of one of these prayers. God, are you real? Something like, I don't even remember what I prayed, but it was one of those crying out to God prayers because I was so desperate and depressed and at the end of myself. And it was like a lightning bolt hit me. The power of God hits me. I fall to the ground, paralyzed to the floor for what feels like 20 minutes, feeling electricity flowing through my body. Not knowing a clue what's going on other than I feel tears going down my face and I can't move. And when it wears off, I rush over to my friend's house. And I'm like, guys, I think I encountered eternity. You know, like I had no language for what was happening. And they're like, bro, what were you on? You know?
Right.
And I was like, I was sober. And they didn't believe me. And so I left. And the next night, I'm laying in bed and it happens again, but I can't move, but this time it feels like a hand presses on my chest. I feel this weight, and all of a sudden I look up and it looks like a screen pops before my eyes, and I'm looking into about 2,000 years ago. Wow. And I'm seeing Jesus going to the cross, and he was bloody, mangled, and he turns and his eyes light up. And I knew in that moment that what he was doing was for me. And it was like everything changed. I went sober, celibate, moved from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Wow.
And I just had a passion for arts and media because as a kid, I was discipled by Goodfellas and Al Pacino and Scarface, all these films, because what you behold, you become.
Right.
I didn't grow up in church. And so those are the things that influenced my mind and made me crazy and want to be a criminal.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, where's the cool guys doing God stories? Where's that version? You know?
Yeah, where are the real good fellows?
Yes, where are those? Yes.
Godfellows.
Yes, because, you know, one thing I was attracted to was that they were willing to die for each other.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like this unconditional love I saw in a perverted way, but Jesus said, greater love has no one than this, the one who lays down his life for his friends.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, my heart was being drawn towards unconditional love that I just didn't see coming from a broken home, you know?
Wow.
So,
wow.
yeah.
So where did that lead you from that point? I mean, because here's the thing that I love about you. Again, you're called to, you go to the streets, you save the lost, you heal, you're the full package, but you also have a call to media. Yeah. And so you and your wife are doing this, you know, she's doing music, she's doing Song Labs?
It's called Song Labs, yeah. She birthed Upper Room Music, so that was her baby, let that go. The Lord gave her a dream and a vision to lay that down.
Wow.
Super hard to do. Told her to put her baby in a basket and send it down the river, like a Moses, right?
Wow.
But she started something else called Song Labs, and what she's done at the Upper Room, she's doing for churches all across the country.
Wow.
Gathering worship leaders together to draw out their unique song and sound, and it's really bringing unity to the church. It's a really powerful process, and so that's one of the things that we do. We have a heart to transform culture through arts and media, and the way that we're transforming church culture is through worship, so that we're turning the bride's eyes back to the groom through song.
Good. He's calling us to come home, and we're calling him to come home.
Yes.
And so I love that, the unity between the two of us. So that's really beautiful. But you're also doing film.
Yeah.
Now tell me about that.
Well, we started a film company down in South Georgia, and our company shot a film. It's in the can, but it needs some finishing funds, and I can't talk too much about it, but it deals with the life issue in a way that that the world hasn't seen just yet.
Okay.
I'll leave it there.
Okay. But very compelling.
Very compelling, very moving.
Yeah.
And we have a couple other projects that are in development for television as well. One called Table of Brotherhood, with the hopes of showing people what real reconciliation looks like through fulfilling Martin Luther King's dream through a show. So.
And that, you told me a little bit about that, and it's so counterculture to what we see today, especially on the college campuses where there are safe zones and you're actually not allowed to disagree.
Yeah.
But there really is beauty in taking two perspectives, and it's not necessarily that you're going to agree, but there can be love. We can honor 100%. One another, we can love one another, and just building a partnership through honor.
Yes, and I think hearing people's perspectives of why they believe what they believe, getting to their heart, and when you see their heart in their testimonies, it's so disarming, because we have a culture that everybody's just yelling at each other. The accuser of the brethren is strong right now.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think that, we've been having this, my wife and I have this phrase that we just say right now, partner with humility, because it's so rare right now, and God exalts the humble, and so the humble conversations aren't being had.
Yeah.
And they need to be had.
Yeah, they do. Well, those both are exciting projects that you have going on. Yeah. So the Lord called you to move. Now, you went to Georgia, to a small town in Georgia.
Yes.
But now he's told you to move again.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, we're up in Atlanta. There's more films being made in Atlanta than anywhere else on the planet, and we needed to be near an airport.
Yeah. And this is really the heart of God right now. God is taking back the media and the influence that you'll have. Like, for example, when you're at the Upper Room, you had influence, but now God is taking the seed of what he's put in you, and he's saying, now I'm going to scatter it all throughout the earth. And so through film and different avenues of media, you're able to really do that.
Well, I think it's one of the most important areas for the church to go after. That's why I love what you're doing right now, because I got to meet with George Barna last year, and I just had this theory, because at the Upper Room, we got real good at getting people to encounter God, experience his presence, but I was like, okay, look at the culture out there. We're losing this war.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is this? And it goes back to what we're beholding. People are spending 11 hours a day in front of cameras and screens, and the church isn't doing a great job at that. And so in the top tier of the most influential things that transform culture, he's identified 7 things, and 5 out of those 7 are media related.
Wow.
And so it is probably the most important space for us as believers to be in telling God's stories. And Jesus was a master storyteller. It's what he did.
Right.
And so I think I just honor you for what you're doing. It's really, really important right now.
Yeah.
And I think, God is calling his people and his prophets into this place to be able to speak the oracles of God to the world, so they can behold the Son in a different way.
Well, I love the It's Supernatural family, because this is Sid's heart, and he is always, he's been a forerunner in this, and he's been doing it for so many years. He's at the top of the game. Yep. And so I just honor how they have been able to capture this, awesome. and people are responding. And people aren't always responding, only responding to this. Let's say they watch it one time, but this could be on YouTube or on the internet, for 10 years and get passed from household to household. And so it's just so exciting what God is doing in media, and we want to get behind that. And in fact, we're going to continue with Michael Malden when we come back. So come back with us, and we're going to have a great time talking more about media, but also he's got a great message on courage that he wants to share with you.
Log on to Tracy Eckert's website, tracyeckert.com, to get her revelatory brand new book, God's End Time Temple. Through Tracy Eckert's prophetic book, God's End Time Temple, you will be awakened with a fresh understanding of what the biblical story of Zerubbabel means for this end-time generation. Through her revelatory work, Tracy activates you to unlock biblical secrets concerning the church in the last days. Experience 100-fold fruitfulness in prayer. Decipher the signs of the times. Receive a release of supernatural strategies and solutions. Function in your biblical role as a new covenant priest and king. Access heaven and apply the living word to experience supernatural transformation in your life. Be prepared for the coming outpouring of God's global glory presence in these coming days. Don't miss out on getting this timely prophetic word. You have been destined to be an agent of the impossible. Imagine how different your life could be if you could get God's thoughts, perspective, and wisdom on all the circumstances in your life. Through her book, you will also learn keys and mysteries to unlock God's voice for your life. Break the intellectual barrier to have spiritual encounters with God. Understand how God speaks to you through dreams and visions. Receive training for your children and grandchildren to hear God's voice. Tracy also includes powerful prayers of impartation. Tracy prays that the veil has been torn so you can clearly hear His voice, that God will anoint you and give you eyes to see and ears to hear, that you will begin to have dreams and visions, that you will have an angel around your bed to organize your dreams and visions, that parents and grandparents will have grace to train kids to hear God's voice and have encounters. Don't miss out on getting Tracy Eckert's revelatory brand new book, God's End Time Temple, by logging on to our website, tracyeckert.com.
Welcome back. We're going to jump right in here with Michael Mauldin. So excited to hear about what the Lord has given you on courage. But before we go there, how can somebody get in touch with you? Because you've actually got an incredible e-course that you're offering right now.
Yeah, it's called, the e-course is called the I Am Journey. And it's a kind of double entendre. He's the great I am, and He said, follow me, right? And I think in Colossians 3:1 says our life is hidden with Christ. And so set your mind on the things that are above where Christ is seated. And Christ, who is your life, when He appears, you appear with Him in glory. And so it's this process to get people to behold the Lord more, but to know who they are, why He's put them on the earth, and then how to walk that out and live offensively. I see too many believers. They know God, they know His heart, they know how to hear His voice, but they don't know why they're on this earth, and they don't know how to go walk that out. Jesus did. He had 7 I am statements. He knew His purpose: to seek and save that which was lost, destroy the works of the devil, give life abundantly, make disciples, etc. But then He had a plan to execute it. Get them filled with the Spirit, then send them out, first Judea, then Samaria, then the ends of the earth, but all in relationship with the Lord.
Right.
And so He was strategic. You know, if you're going to build a house, you need a plan.
Right.
And so this whole process is to get people intimate with the Lord, ask the questions, because I don't have the answers for your life, but He does.
Right.
I'll just put a process for you to get to Him with the right questions, and then how to put together a plan to walk it out so you can aim your life at something. You know, sin is missing the mark, the archery term, right? I think most people are sinning because they don't know what the heck they're aiming their life at.
Right.
Right?
And if you know something, hope will actually be the driver that you need.
For sure.
To get there.
And then temptation's like, what? I don't have time for this.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what I'm called to do, for real. Yes.
Exactly.
So,
that's beautiful.
Yes.
So it's I Am Journey.
IamJourney.co. S. Michael Mauldin's my Instagram. I do a lot of media content on there, just kind of inspiring kind of stuff.
Okay.
So
if you go to IamJourney.co, contact Michael. And is it a free course, or is it?
There's 2 classes for free on there,
Okay.
and then it's a paid e-course. It's a 6-week process. There's about a 50-page journal.
Yeah.
and there for you to go and just spend time with Jesus and figure out your life and put
I
a
love
plan
that.
and walk it out.
And the important thing, when you're trying to decide who you're going to come up under to be taught by, you've got to be taught by somebody that is doing the stuff. And so when you look at the life of someone, of a righteous man who's doing God's righteous bidding, this is where you need to slipstream, is under this mentorship. So I encourage you to go online and join his e-course. Okay, so you were going to tell us about courage, and I love what you told me, the revelation that you've had.
Yeah, well, I was kind of thinking about, well, actually, at the beginning of the year, the Lord told me, I asked for a word for the year, and the Lord said the word for you in this year is courage. And little did I know how much we were going to need courage, because fear is just dominating the planet, right? And so I started noticing fear everywhere, obviously, but then I also started noticing people telling me to be safe everywhere I went. Be safe out there. Be safe. Be safe out there, Michael.
Wow.
Be safe. And I was like, there's no command in the Bible that says be safe. Like, there's none.
Exactly, it's opposite.
It's the opposite. It's be strong and courageous, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Time to go to the promised land, guys. There's giants there, but be safe. No, he's like, be strong and courageous, right?
Right.
So we need it. And in my life, I look at the Bible sometimes very simply, where it says the spirit and the flesh are in opposition, right? And so the world is saying, hunker down, go into your homes, be safe. That's fear. That's flesh. So God must be saying the opposite. He must be saying, let's gather together to worship. Let's advance the kingdom.
Right.
Right, so I started looking at the life of David, right? David and Goliath, we all know the story all too well.
Yeah.
But when the Philistines come into the land of Israel, they first step into the land of Judah. Judah means praise, right? Praise is the vehicle by which we magnify the Lord, okay? So Philistine means stranger. The voice of the stranger comes into the vehicle by which we magnify the Lord. And then there's this unprecedented description of Goliath. It goes into all this detail. Nowhere in Scripture is the enemy this detailed. And I believe it's significant because it's showing how magnified the enemy was inside of Israel.
Right.
And what did it do? It sidelined an entire nation to where they were totally in fear and could not move forward.
To address the enemy.
To address the enemy, right? The voice of a stranger. And Jesus said this about the stranger. My sheep know my voice, the voice of a stranger they will not listen to.
Yeah.
So there's young David. He's out in the wilderness. He's not listening to Fox News and CNN, the voice of the stranger, the Philistine. He's out there tending sheep, worshiping God, and he steps onto the scene and he's like, why are y'all tripping out? Don't you know that we're the armies of the living God? This uncircumcised Philistine, he's just like going right at it.
This uncircumcised coronavirus?
Yes, right? I mean, why is he gonna be afraid of this?
Yeah.
Don't you know that we're the sons of God?
Yeah.
You know, and so I've just been on this trip all year because like David, similar to when I was, with my brother, that Let Us Worship event, the Lord gave me a word, right? It's time to plunder hell on your brother's behalf.
Yeah.
David goes into the stream. He gets into the stream of God.
Yeah.
And he pulls forth a stone. He gets a word from the Lord. And that voice is coming at him. And he's able to just sling that thing right at the enemy's head. And so I want to pray for you guys. Like, if you're struggling with fear in this hour, I want to release courage over you, the ability to walk in the opposite spirit of what you fear. Because the spirit and the flesh are in opposition. So if you don't know what to do sometimes, doing the opposite of what you feel, you'll step into the spirit. And so, Father, I pray for a release of fresh faith, like David, that they would turn off the voice of the stranger and that they would listen to your voice and know how to magnify you greatly, to be able to hear your voice, sling stones, and fell their giants in this hour. In Jesus' name.
Amen.